One, is Donald Trump a cheap date for anyone that would flatter? Has Donald Trump given in to rhinos? What do we make of the one big, beautiful bill? Two, fascinating story out of California where they will allow a transgender track athlete, a man, to stand on the podium, to be awarded a medal, to whoop up on girls, but they disqualify a real woman for spraying a fire extinguisher on her own feet after winning. Is it racism? Is it insanity? With comedian Tim Young. 3, award-winning mentalist Christoph Fox steps in to blow our minds on The Will Cain Show. It is The Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, the Fox News Facebook page, Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. We love it when you join us. We love it when you drop into the comments section, which you can do over at Facebook or on YouTube. And you then become somebody we describe as a member of the Willisha. We got two-a-days, Dan. We got Tinfoil Pat. And Dan's been sick, and he's been out, but he's back. And right before air, he says to me, I feel like I can talk. You know, first of all, glad you're back. Glad you're feeling better.
Thank
See
you.
you muting yourself as you cough.
I'm
little
playing,
summer bronchitis.
I'm playing hurt, yeah. I don't know what it was, but, man, I haven't been sick like this in a while. It's rough.
We're glad to have you back. And while you're at it, you know, we invited the audience yesterday to step into the comments section. We invited the Willisha to tell us what they think about whether or not the name of our two shows is confusing. Both the Will Cain television show and the Will Cain digital show sharing the same name. We want to hear from you. And in the alternative, should you find it confusing, what are your suggestions for a rebrand of the Will Cain Show? So if you did yesterday or you are here today, we want your suggestions. Perhaps Tinfoil Pat or two-a-days Dan will have some time during the show to bring you in, the Willisha. All right, I want to get to it today because we have two guests, two fascinating guests. Comedian Tim Young and mentalist Christoph Fox joining us a little bit later on the show, but I asked you a provocative question at the outset. I asked you whether or not Donald Trump is a cheap date for flattery and whether or not that date has led to giving in and giving it up for rhinos. Let's get to it with story number 1. Headline from The Blaze reads, "The swamp isn't being drained. Right-winger denounces cheap date Trump for backing rhinos." In it, columnist Daniel Horowitz says that Donald Trump has given in to flattery. Anyone that says they are pro-Trump, anyone that says they will support Donald Trump will earn his support. Horowitz writes, Trump keeps endorsing the establishment he vowed to fight. Some defenders claim Trump backs incumbents to push his agenda. That theory falls apart when so many of those same rhinos openly sabotage it. Horowitz writes, take Congressman Mike Lawler or Jen Kiggans. Both received Trump's endorsement while actively working against his legislative priorities, pushing green energy subsidies and obsessing over tax breaks for their donor class. I think now's a good time for a moment to step back and let's talk about one of these tax breaks that are the source of much of the fight when it comes to the one big, beautiful bill. Salt. Salt. I don't like to ever take for granted that everyone listening and everybody watching knows exactly what's going on in the arcane language and acronyms of government bureaucracy. But I also acknowledge that many of you are plugged in news listeners, viewers, and readers, and you probably at this point know what we're talking about when we refer to SALT. Still, please, if you'll give me just one moment, indulge me. State and local taxes. There has been in the past a provision to allow federal taxpayers in states like New York, New Jersey, and California to deduct from their federal taxes the amount they've had to pay in state income taxes. As a one-time resident of New York City, this was something that I certainly appreciated. It kept me from what I felt like was double taxation. I paid income tax to both New York and to the feds. But at one point, the feds allowed you to write off whatever it is you already paid to the state of New York. Now, this is, if we're being ideologically fair and true, a pure giveaway to states like New York, New Jersey, and California. I mean, what's the benefit for someone who lives in Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Oklahoma, where you have no or low income tax? You are subsidizing the taxes and the tax and spend government of very liberal Democrat, poorly run states. Why should you do so? If you don't pay any income tax in Florida, why should you be subsidizing someone who has chosen to live in New York under inefficient and expensive, bloated government? And the answer is you should not. And by the way, you do subsidize it. You ask yourself, but I'm not subsidizing that. I'm not sending it. Yes, you are. When you pay federal taxes and they're paying less for the same amount of income in federal taxes, that money's going to have to be made up somewhere. And that money is almost inevitably, in the words of Milton Friedman, made up in the form of inflation or debt. And that will be evenly spread across the United States. Thus, you are subsidizing them writing off their state taxes. I now live in Texas, where I was born and raised, and I want nothing to do with sending my taxpayer dollars, direct or indirect, to the state of California or New York. But SALT is a necessary evil in the creation of the one big, beautiful bill, because government is always a game of compromise. It doesn't always result in what's right. Why, you ask? Well, because government is also a game of math, not just budget deficit and debt math, but also votes. House Speaker Mike Johnson needs almost every Republican in the House to vote for the one big, beautiful bill, or for that matter, anything Republicans want to pass in Congress. And in order to do so, he's got to earn the vote of people, in this case, for example, Republican congressmen from New York that want to serve their constituents, who want to keep SALT. Now, we can take a minute and we can be mad at those Republican congressmen from California or New York, but then we also have to ask ourselves, what is their job? I made an argument on my morning call with some of my staff. Their job is to serve the United States of America. And somebody made the bright point to me, well, but their job is to represent the constituency of Americans that elected them. And if you don't deliver in the state of New York, for example, something like the SALT deduction, what's going to happen? What will happen? Well, they're not going to replace Mike Lawler with a more conservative Republican. They're going to replace Mike Lawler with a Democrat. Most of these seats from California and New York are purple, and we celebrate their wins when we get Republican wins in the midterms or presidential election years in Congress. But with that comes, I don't know about ideological purity because I don't know sometimes where these guys stand, but I do think that they're probably having to serve their constituencies, and if their constituencies don't like what they've done, what are they going to do? They're going to replace them with blue. They're going to replace them with a Democrat. Now, I'm not here to tell you or explain or celebrate rhinos. I am here to understand reality. Reality is so important. Self-awareness is so important. You don't begin the process of being better until you analyze. I don't get to the gym until I look in the mirror and I'm disgusted with reality. And we as a country don't get to make improvements before we recognize reality. And reality takes a pragmatic approach. It requires a pragmatic approach to your current environment. You can't heal unless you can diagnose. Okay, Will, you're using a lot of words. You're talking around. Okay, here's what I'm getting at. I read this column here, by Daniel Horowitz, who I may or may not have met at some point in my life. And I say, is that the real issue? Is Trump just a sucker for flattery? Is the real issue that somebody who doesn't believe or sabotages or undercuts his agenda getting away with it because they say, hey, I like Donald Trump? Is that the issue? Or is it that Trump or any of these guys, they don't really care. Drain the swamp. They're just rhinos. Now, listen, I think some of that is true. I really do. I think you should always be skeptical of power and government. Congress has never had lower approval ratings. I think you should. I definitely think you should. And I think ideology is important. I really do. Because ideology to me is a representation of not just what you believe, but understanding why you believe a certain thing. The philosophical, constitutional groundings for what you believe, because then you can explain it. Then you can defend it. Then you can use it as a source of persuasion. And that's what this is all about. It's about persuasion because that's what government is. It's not force. So sometimes I think people in the line of work that I am in can do something very easy, and that is simply pound an ideological table. This bill, the one big, beautiful bill, it does not save enough in deficit. It does not do enough to control our debt. It is more government pork. In short, you can take the position of Elon Musk, and you're going to inflame a lot of people who won't be completely wrong. You'll be right. If you're listening to me right now, you're like, what are you talking about, Will? All those things are true, and you're right. But here's the question, okay? Here's the question. What are you going to do about it? What can you do about it? What is an accurate diagnosis of reality? The accurate diagnosis of reality is, well, they're, of course, Democrats, and they want nothing to do with anything that we're talking about. Then there are Republicans from New York and California. Hell, there are Republicans right now in the Senate from North Dakota and Alaska who are worried about how big of a rollback of the Green New Deal is a part of this one big, beautiful bill. And why? You say to yourself, why? Are they climate change zealots? Well, you know what the answer to that most likely is? Serving their constituents. There's an industry. There's a group of people. There are voters in those states who are benefiting from those government handouts and subsidies. And so they're looking at their own electoral prospects. And you say, oh, your job isn't continue to get. No. I know. But your job is to conserve your constituents. And we have to be real about what constituents want. I don't want it. I don't want them. I don't want green handouts. I don't want any of this stuff. But somebody does. So what do I have to do? I have to do this. I have to lean back on persuasion. And I understand that government is a process of persuasion. And you don't get everything you want. Sometimes, even when in appearance, you have Republicans that control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. We're not an authoritarian government. There are thinkers, by the way, guys like Curtis Yarvin. I don't know if you ever heard of Curtis Yarvin, but he does have an influence out there who has basically said, I don't think democracy is a good way of getting things done. I don't think it can be done. We need a CEO. We need a competent runner, competent leader who can just run things through. Okay, we can freak out. They did a piece on him on CNN about, the rising tide of authoritarianism. But you can also have a practical conversation about the limitations of democracy, the cost and benefits of other forms of government. And we trust that when we do that, the costs will always be lower than the benefits of representative democracy in republics, constitutional republics, right? No form of government is perfect. No one is sitting here going, oh, you know what? The founders, geniuses, they were. But did they achieve perfection? No, there is no form. There's a famous thing. What's a better form of government? I've said this before. What's a better form of government, democracy or dictatorship? And the answer is, who's the dictator? And that's the truth. But the problem with that type of government is always, even if you had the benevolent, all-seeing, wisdom-filled, and you never would, dictator, what comes after him? Usually, in the history of monarchies, some ne'er-do-well son who falls far short. That's the history of Europe and monarchies, civilization. But the point of that exercise is not to elevate dictatorship, but to understand the limitations of democracy. There are limitations. And that limitation is compromise among a vast group of people that have disagreements. And that vast group of people is not just people that live in Washington, D.C., but that live across this country. This is where I'm going with all of this. It's easy to be an ideologue and inflame audiences, especially when it's hard to understand what's going on in the budgeting process. It's hard to understand. And that's not to say people are stupid. I have trouble with this. We all do. So yesterday on the Will Cain Show, on both this digital radio, audio streaming show, and on the television, I tried to talk about deficits, debt, how you pass bills. Had a huge debate, a huge breakdown on the Fox News channel. And then I brought in Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, and I thought he was incredibly enlightening. I pushed him because you listening and Americans listening are rightfully skeptical. You should be. You guys always talk about government spending cuts, and it never happens. It never happens. It always grows, as does the deficit, and then subsequently, as does the debt. So why do we trust you now? I'd rather pound the ideological table, like Senator Rand Paul. But Mark Wayne Mullen wrote this fairly long explanation that I do want to share with you over on X, okay? And Stephen Miller, who's with the administration, has done the same thing, okay? And I think that it is instructive. I think it doesn't require you to indulge in agreement or disagreement, but it will hopefully help you decide what it is you actually think. Are we run by rhinos and people who would be subject to flattery, or is this the messy, imperfect process of compromise, persuasion, and democracy? Here is Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Most Americans get the mission behind President Trump's historic One Big Beautiful Bill, but there is back and forth, as you've seen between, for example, Stephen Miller and Elon Musk. Here's what you need to know, writes Mullen. Fact. President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill was designed by the president himself, his team, and his closest MAGA allies in Congress to deliver the MAGA agenda. This is the president's vision. No bill is perfect, but we have a once-in-a-lifetime bill to deliver exactly what POTUS promised. Lower taxes, a secure border, strong military, and reining in spending. And we can do it with only 51 votes. As an aside, Stephen Miller has pointed out the point of the One Big Beautiful Bill is threefold. Cut spending, completely fund border security, and cut taxes. And the key is they're doing it through reconciliation. One of the few tools they have to do it with 51 votes, a simple majority. You don't get anything if you have to go past the filibuster, which requires 60, and that requires Democrats. Mullen goes on, it's simple. President Trump won huge in November. He helped us deliver the House and the Senate majority. Our job is to deliver the MAGA agenda. As we speak, we're still working to make this bill improved in the Senate. Keep in mind, this reconciliation process can only be used for non-discretionary, aka mandatory spending. So that means not so much the DOGE stuff, but Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, mandatory spending. Mullen writes, stick with me. All that means is President Trump's MAGA bill requires only 51 votes versus 60, and there are strict limits then on what can be included in reconciliation. The appropriations process is how we can aggressively cut more discretionary spending, and that's already in the works. Plus, we've got the rescissions process to make DOGE cuts permanent. It's a lot of government lingo, but we'll do our best to break it down. Bottom line, trust President Trump. He made a lot of promises on the trail, and this bill delivers. Mullen goes on to write, most Americans are on the debt limit, because that is what Senator Rand Paul said in the end he's opposed to, raising the debt limit. If we do not do it now, when it only takes 51 votes, we will have to give away the White House in negotiations with Democrats under a 60-vote threshold. And on balanced budget, I agree, it's a top POTUS priority. It takes time. We're working on it. The key here, as I laid out yesterday on the Will Cain Show, and it's laid out by Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, is reconciliation can be done with 51 votes, not 60. That's key. Therefore, here are the things we can do. Border, tax cuts, some mandatory spending cuts. We'll come back with rescissions. They've already done one tiny one, $9 billion rescission cut. They said they will do more. And we'll come back with appropriations where the secretaries of all these various cabinets, it's their job to implement DOGE cuts when they ask Congress for money. It's their job to control their budgets. That's according to Mark Wayne Mullen. In the meantime, you do as many things as possible, including raising the debt limit when you only need 51 votes, because if you do it through a process then later, which requires 60, well, you're worried what you have to give up to New York Republicans? What happens when you have to give something up to Chuck Schumer? When you have to give something up to AOC? Maybe President Trump isn't just a sucker for flattery. Maybe he isn't cuddling up to rhinos. Maybe he knows how to win. And some people that bang the ideological table, who I appreciate, I actually do, but don't know a damn thing about winning. Couldn't win. Student body president at a small 2A high school in rural Texas. One thing I know, I think we all have learned, is he knows how to win. President Trump. Coming up, comedian Tim Young on AOC, Karine Jean-Pierre, and this track. Meet out of California where they embrace transgenderism, but come down hard on overzealous celebrations. That's coming up on the Will Cain Show. Now they admit that Karine Jean-Pierre was incompetent. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Comedian Tim Young is a media fellow at the Heritage Foundation. He's also the CEO of the Veebs app. He's on X at Tim Runs His Mouth, and he's rejoined us here on the Will Cain Show. What is up, Tim?
Listen, I'm not the CEO of the Veebs app. They didn't like paying me money, so I stopped that. Will, I've got an idea for you. I know you.
Is that why two days just got in my ear when I was reading your credentials and said nope.
Stop.
On the Veebs app thing.
Yeah, we had a disagreement.
Still, we got
I liked being paid. They didn't. So I
got to update my bio.
Yeah. Hey, look, I sent him a note about it like 5 minutes before we went on. It's my fault totally for doing that. You know, it's how I go. Look, I'm a guy who shows up in a hoodie and a hat. What do you expect for organization here, you know?
All right, well, hell with them. You got to pay Tim Young. And we should probably have to pay him.
Tim Young. You don't have to pay Tim Young, Will Cain. And I'm going to give you a free suggestion here because I know you call your fans the Willisha. Awesome. I prefer Canaanites.
Yeah. Canaanites. There's something
biblical,
subversive and revolutionary and dangerous about the Willisha that I like. I like that it leans into all the left-wing stereotypes, but so does Canaanites because they think we all want a Christian nationalist country. And, well, anyway, it might work with Canaanites. Remind me, though, my Sunday school is falling short today. Remind me who they were. Can you do it, Tim? The Canaanites?
No. Why would no?
We're embarrassing ourselves in front of the eyes of God right now. And
you understand right now they're going to. I'm going to get tweets today because of this. That'll be like Tim Young claims to be a Christian, but he doesn't even know what's going on with the Canaanites. I'm going to take this note and throw it. We'll pretend that never happened now. Thanks, Will.
No, we won't. We're gonna correct ourselves right here on air. Go ahead, two-a-days. Who were the Canaanites?
Yeah, so it's very topical actually right now. The Canaanites were a group of ancient people who lived in the land of Canaan, a region roughly corresponding to modern-day Israel and Palestine, and Lebanon, and West Jordan. So yeah,
and they were big part of the story of the Bible. I do know that.
Yeah. They were part of the inhabitants of the Promised Land.
Canaanites,
dude. See, I'm a genius. I knew that.
See?
I just wanted to quiz your yeah, I knew it. No.
Okay, drop into the comments section. Do you like Willisha or Canaanites better? We want to make sure two-a-days is working hard on his first day back from bronchitis, so he'll be collecting your comments here, and I want your votes. Okay, check this out, Tim. This is fascinating. So KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, she comes out. She says she's now an independent. Record pace for carrying the water and spinning for the president of the United States, who's a Democrat, to disavowing herself of the party, Democrats. But now it's open season on her. And this is what Alex Thompson put this out today from Axios. I want you to take a look at what they wrote. New Karine Jean-Pierre's colleagues had thoughts about her and her book. One of the most ineffectual and unprepared people I've ever worked with is a quote from some of her former colleagues. The amount of time that was spent coddling her was astronomical compared to our attention on actual matters of substance. Go on and on. Talk about how she couldn't run a team. She couldn't do her job. She was ineffective. Kind of, by the way, validating what many people said. She was a DEI hire. I mean, she was there to check some boxes. That that was a big part of the administration.
Her colleagues sound racist and homophobic because, as you know, she shattered the glass ceiling as the first lesbian black woman to be the spokesperson for the White House. Also, like, if she was so bad, she was there for the longest amount of time as a press secretary, wasn't she, compared to to Jen Psaki? So why didn't they get rid of her if she was so bad?
Because of what you just did. And that's you joke, but it is a shield. If you criticize Karine Jean-Pierre, if you'd fired Karine Jean-Pierre, we'll see what the reaction is to these anonymous quotes about Karine Jean-Pierre. Well, you're a racist and a homophobe. And that's the last thing that can be, that's not for Joe Biden.
The only thing I didn't like about her was everybody knew she was lying, but her tell was so obvious when she was really lying. She had that eye flutter that she would do. Like, I'd love to play poker against her. She just couldn't keep it together. You know, like when she would really dig in, she had a really bad nervous twitch with her eyes. I'd love to be able to impersonate it, but it's something that's like, you can't kind of do it. It's like really, really fast, very, very kind of anxiety attack giving. And it was pretty obvious when she was lying.
I don't think it's anxiety. I think it's an affectation designed to communicate dismissiveness and condescension. It's one of these little things that people do, like, here goes Peter Ducey. Let me blink my eyes 10 times because this is going to be stupid. That's what it's communicating without saying the words.
See, I thought it was a bad tell on like the nervousness. I think you might be right too. Maybe she just blinked her eyes all the time and it was just off-putting to everyone involved on both sides of the coin.
Let's talk about some of the rest of the left and where they're headed right now. So first of all, have you heard of TACO? You probably have. I don't know if anybody listening has figured out. Apparently, this is an acronym being used on Wall Street, and then the left has heard about it and picked up on it. It stands for Trump always chickens out. It's in reference to tariffs. He comes in hard, then he backs off. So the point on Wall Street is don't freak out. Don't either do or don't make ridiculous trades. In other words, what I mean by do is buy and sell knowing that he's going to back off the tariffs is the argument on Wall Street. The left's leaned in. They've tried to meme. They've tried to be funny. Here's Eric Swalwell.
Hey, Congressman.
Can I help you?
What the is up with Trump always chickening out on tariffs?
And that's that. The rest of that video is Eric Swalwell, and one of his aides walks into his office, says, hey, Congressman, what's up with Trump always chickening out on tariffs? And then Swalwell picks up, which looks like a Taco Bell taco, and just starts eating the taco. I can see they're really bad at being, is the word funny? Is the word authentic? Is the word connecting? They're just really bad.
Yeah, and they always pick the wrong people to do it too. That's the whole thing with this. Like, look, they control media. They control, I mean, other than, of course, your show, Will. But they control the media. They control most of the comedians. You would think they'd have better writers. They have legitimately funny people who have done legitimately funny things. You would think that they could get a couple of them to come up with something original. I'll tell you this. I believe it was 10 years ago.
You know what?
Maybe
Real quick,
longer.
Tim, on that, before you tell me that story, that's pretty interesting, the point you make. They've all become not funny. There's two off the top of my head that have been able to remain funny, and that'd be Bill Maher. You know, he's still capable of humor and new rules. And honestly, Jon Stewart's still capable of it. I think Jon Stewart's a hack, not as thoughtful and intellectual as he pretends to be. However, he's not stupid. And he's really talented at comedy and on occasion unpredictable. So he can still be funny. But like, I don't know, Colbert and Kimmel and Myers and the rest of the mainstream media liberal comedy complex, they're not funny.
Yeah, there's a difference between being kind of hateful and angry and upset at actual policy. And that's the difference between Bill Maher, Jon Stewart, and then the rest of them. Jon Stewart will look up the policy that he's upset about and actually have knowledge of it and be upset at the actual cause of what's wrong with that policy. You have Seth Meyers and again, Colbert, who they're second city guys who just kind of, they hate Trump. They hate Republicans. They hate anything that's not them. And that shows in their attempts at humor.
Oh, you were saying something about 10 years ago?
10 years ago, I did a stand-up show where I said that I was working for Democrats to help get the Hispanic vote, and I brought a box of tacos on stage and started handing them out. And so, like, that is it's literally what they're doing right now. I mean, it literally, like,
Yeah,
and it was just stupid. Like, I just came up with a stupid prop, like, I was doing a political show, and it was a throwaway, and I never thought that it would actually happen. And that's what they actually are handing out tacos to push this.
By the way, on that note, I had Michael LaRosa on, who's I don't know who he worked for in the Biden administration. Could have been the first lady. He told me a story yesterday when they were on whatever plane she rides around in, and she was practicing her Spanish before the "si se puede" moment. And he's like, "Hey, maybe," he said this, if she has to practice it, maybe we shouldn't do it, But they did. Just ridiculous pandering that falls on its face. Si se puede.
Well, you think she'd know a little bit more Spanish since didn't Joe Biden go to a Spanish church growing up? Wasn't that one of the 15 churches he went to in South Carolina and or Delaware and or North Carolina and Maryland?
I think so. Black, Hispanic, Irish, Polish.
He dropped in at a mosque on like a
press.
Sunday once.
I hate to mess up his resume and take anything away from all of the rest of his life experience. But it doesn't seem to turn them off. This guy is he's a social media influencer. He and his brother, twin, I don't know, the Krasensteins. He puts this out. He says, "Here's your ticket for 2028. AOC and Jasmine Crockett." I don't know, man. But I think they're headed for historic embarrassment if they're going to keep going down this path.
Look, I'm not sure who they are appealing to with Jasmine Crockett. She's incredibly intelligent. She went to a private school in St. Louis and has been very privileged her entire life. So whatever, kudos to the consultant who showed up to her office one day, probably getting paid, $1 million a year, and looks at her and says, "Hey, you know how you're smart? Can you talk ghetto?" And she looked at him, and instead of saying, "Hey, that sounds kind of racist," she goes, "Hey, great idea. Let's do that." And so she shows up and throws down like she's at a Waffle House sometimes. I just don't understand her appeal. I don't know if you've ever visited South Dallas, where that's her district. I don't travel to South Dallas when I'm in Dallas. I don't know about you. I stay in the other areas.
Yeah. I don't know exactly. I know she's South Dallas. I don't know the extent of her district. I mean, I've been to the Bishop Arts District, have some dinner. I mean, I'll actually go to South Dallas for soccer practices sometime. I'm very diverse, Tim. Are you trying to paint me as some Highland Park?
I can tell.
I don't get out of my bubble. Like, what are you doing?
I don't leave Grapevine. Look, man, I don't leave Grapevine. I sit on top of DFW Airport. You got to be doing something neat to get me into Dallas proper.
Okay, check this out. Chuck Schumer, and completing the trifecta of everything is stupid and everything is hyperventilating. He says, with all these cuts, which I just talked about in the top of this show, and how we're going to do this and how you're going to thread the needle, this is why you don't turn it over to anything other than reconciliation or rescission, where you need 60 votes to pass, and that's going to require Democrats. You don't want to have to get the approval of somebody like Chuck Schumer. Watch.
Donald Trump is just lying about the bill. Lying about the bill. Well, here's the "We Are All Going to Die" act.
We are all going to die. That's how he is phrasing the bill. I mean, by the way, they should just play that clip and go, guys, we got to get this done through reconciliation.
Well, we are all going to die. Like, Chuck Schumer is the worst spokesperson. Again, this is why the Krasensteins have AOC and Jasmine Crockett out front. You want to talk about a weak bench? I mean, this is like what, Mets pre-2004 for those baseball people out there. Everybody's got that baseball team that stunk for a while, and you got nobody on the bench whatsoever. And you're like, who are they making a bobblehead of for the giveaway game? You're like, who? I've never heard of this person before. So-and-so Gonzalez we've never heard of. What? I don't know who this is. That's why AOC and Jasmine Crockett are being floated to potentially be their ticket. Because when you have old guys like Chuck Schumer swinging and missing constantly, that's all they've got on their bench.
All right, Tim, Eddie Curtis over on YouTube says, keep the Willisha. Canaanites I actually like, but the Willisha just feels perfect. There is Eddie Curtis. And then here's some more. We got Rocky and Michaela Kassan says they like Raising Cane. Oh, that's a tinfoil Pat suggestion for a name of the show. Florida Girl says, I wish we could call the show Raising Cane. There's another one. Another one says Canaanites or Canaanites, however you want to spell it. And Bretrick says the Will Cain blather. Oh, thanks, Ann.
What if you called it Raising Cane and you just ate chicken strips the entire time? You got a good Raising Cane's sponsorship?
Cane. If that's what I was going to say. If I call it Raising Cane and they don't sponsor me, how embarrassing would that be? Like, I really kind of boxed myself in. On one hand, you're like, oh, you're going to get sponsorship, but what if I don't? And then that would be a real indictment. You know also, would I get a cease and desist?
You keep reaching for those stars and eventually you'll pull one down, you know?
Would I get a cease and desist letter from them on Raising Cane?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Immediately.
All right. Hey, do you watch The Last of Us?
Yes. Well, I did.
Did you watch through all the way the first 2 seasons? All of them?
I
Both seasons?
got to the point where they killed off Pedro Pascal, my favorite LGBT character on television, and then I turned it off.
All right. Spoiler alerts right now. If you're watching and listening to us and you plan to watch Last of Us, tune out. Come back in just a minute. You're going to hear about this story out of California and their track meets. But we are going to talk about The Last of Us for a minute, and it is going to ruin it for people who have not watched it all the way through. Last of Us, Tim, dropped half their audience. Half their audience. Okay? Now, I think you did this on your feed. You said that's what happens when you go woke. You said it's another go woke, go broke. I'm not sure I agree. Why do you think that is why The Last of Us? Well, I think The Last of Us has a reason that it dropped half its audience, but I'm not sure how much of it has to do with going woke.
Well, this is okay. So the Last of Us Part 2, the video game, actually went super woke, and the reaction from the video game audience was terrible. So this was one of those few times where maybe they should have rewritten it and kept the main character in, and maybe didn't go totally gay in the whole thing. But you took out the male lead, who was a critical piece of the show. And again, they did that in the video game too. It's kind of like, what did you expect? Like they could have predicted this literally by paying attention to the source material and the reaction to the initial source material.
And then therefore divorcing themselves, you're saying, from the source material.
Yeah.
So they should have seen the blowback on the original source material.
Yeah.
Right.
Hollywood does it all the time. And I don't know why they wouldn't have done it. But in this instance, between
what's
that
your
and
argument
that
for
clip
why
that
it's
went
woke?
viral,
Is it because it's a main character that's a female? Females are at this point probably the lead warriors going on in the series, right? I mean, there are still some males too, but and that the lead character is not just she's gay, so it's got a whole gay romance thing going to it. Is that your argument for why it's gone woke?
It's not just. I don't care about the gay thing. I don't think a lot of people care about the gay thing if it's a good story that goes with it. Especially, I mean,
right.
Not to be. We're on a podcast here, so because she's women, I think people would rather see gay women than gay men. That's an argument, but I think it's that line. I'm going to be a dad. I think that killed their whole production. When that line went viral, I put it up. It's just so ridiculous. Like I almost feel like if they didn't touch on it, or they said I'm going to be a mom, like nobody would care. But it's just
funny,
over the top.
I didn't even think about that when that line. Yeah, I thought you say that, and I remember it now. I don't know if I have like weaker antennas on woke detection than others, but there's times when I see stuff and I'm like, nope, not going to do it. So here's my argument. Okay, Tim, I want you to hear this out and you tell me where you disagree. What I don't like is woke stuff shoved into a story that becomes the thing. Like you can tell that's the main thing they're trying to push, and plot or action is clearly subservient and being diminished because of their message, right? So I didn't get that sense from Last of Us. Like the gay relationship it didn't take away from the rest of the story, and it didn't feel to me shoehorned in an ill fit. It just was, whatever it is, right? And actually, I'll also say, I don't think it added a lot either. Like, I don't think it added to the story. So it didn't cut either way for me. The female lead thing, I actually think is more interesting, okay? And this is why I think, and I don't know that it was driven out of wokeism or not. I mean, there's a lot of stories and a lot of movies that are female leads, and we like them. But in this case, it's not about her being a female. This is what I think. Pedro Pascal is insufferable. He's absolutely insufferable politically. However, he's a good actor. That's what I think. I enjoy watching him. I enjoy watching him in Narcos and most things he's been in. He's a compelling actor, and he's charming. And there's just something you acknowledge when somebody's on screen, your eyes gravitate to it. And he has that, whatever that is, okay? She just simply doesn't. I don't even know her name, the lead actress. She's an interesting-looking person. Now, interesting is the word I'm choosing here. Most of the time when it's a female lead, let's be real about people. They are, like, objectively beautiful people, and that's why our eyes gravitate to it, and you watch. And she's not that. She's definitely not that. She's interesting looking, and I think there's something to that, to be honest. But I don't think the whole amalgamation adds up to a lead character. Like, she just doesn't carry it. I don't want to like crush that actress, but if you're an executive and you're sitting there and you're saying, why did we shed audiences? There's a reason you cast Brad Pitt. There's a reason you cast Matt Damon. There's a reason you cast these guys, right? Because people gravitate to them and they bring eyeballs. And I just don't think this show has that person now that they killed off Pedro Pascal. That's that. You don't have a compelling lead character, and you're going to lose your audience.
I like that you set the ball on a tee for me, and you're like, let's just keep mentioning her looks, but in a positive way, and see if Tim hits it out of the park. I'm not going to touch it, Will. It's a setup. Bella Ramsey. I think the problem, too, is that there's a 24/7 stream online of people's opinions and politics outside of the shows that you're watching. And she's one of these people who goes around, I believe she goes by they, them, and has pushed that over and over again. And Pedro Pascal has added exclamation points to that. I think people are tired. She's a boring actress. You're right. Like it's a shrug when I see her on screen. The combo of them, they actually had charisma together. They lit up the screen together. There was the back and forth of the different personalities, and it was great writing in the first season. But again, it's just like the video game where other than she's not as pretty, where the first game was fantastic and had everything there, and the second game had a message. They had the message that they were pushing with the LGBT stuff. And so it's just like, it's a combo of everything all together. And also, there's so much of the message on television and in everything that we see now that people are just absolutely turned off by it. The MCU that they're pushing with Marvel, that apparently they're rushing to do reshoots now of the end of Fantastic Four because that's what was happening there. People are tired of it. And it's just exhausting when female characters are basically infallible over and over again. They can do no wrong. They're going to win. There's just nothing entertaining to watch about them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to now get to this story. So I think this story is full of layers. So in the state of California, young lady, high school, I don't know, junior, senior, I think it's the 100, she wins. And she's scheduled to run later in the 200 as well. She's fast. I mean, she wins. She's black. She then goes off the track into the infield, and her dad's waiting there, and he's got he told me it's a handheld fire extinguisher, and he sprays her feet, like, oh, so fast your feet are on fire type thing,
Yeah.
And the CIF, who regulates high school athletics in California, took her medal away, disqualified her, and then disqualified her for the rest of the meet. She wasn't able to run the 200. Now, there's a lot of layers I want to talk about with you here, and I'm going to explain them in just a second. But this is the young lady and her father yesterday on the Will Cain Show. But, David, I don't see any evidence in what it's available to me that the punishment is racially motivated. Do you have any evidence to suggest to us today that it's racially motivated?
I say that, and let me be clear with you when I say it. I'm glad you asked me that. I say that because you look at the governing body, you look at the officials that are on the grass area.
Right.
I know for a fact with the history in our country when it comes to celebrations, when a white girl celebrates or a white boy celebrates, it's called he's passionate. He's good for the sport. We need this for the sport. But when a black girl or a black boy or a brown girl or a black boy, they celebrate, it's deemed as unprofessional, unsportsmanlike, it's ghetto. So why is it okay for one to celebrate and not the other? We've seen that before. It's nothing new.
Okay, so she was disqualified for unsportsmanlike conduct, Tim. Here are the levels of this discussion, which I think we should go in. Mm-hmm. What is that? What is unsportsmanlike conduct? We can all acknowledge there's a subjective line here that we all have an emotional reaction to, and we decide. To the racial aspect, my next thing with him is I pushed back more. I said, I actually agree with him that society and witnesses react differently to exuberance and enthusiasm from black and white. I've seen it played out, honestly. I have, on the soccer field, on the football field. He's actually right as a premise. But for him to say this is racially motivated, I would need the exact same situation handled differently for a white girl, right? Unless you show me that, then I can't say this was racially motivated. But number three, I think she was overpunished, and especially when compared to the fact they're sitting there putting trans athletes like A.B. Hernandez on the medal podium, dudes beating girls, and this is where you choose to come down hard, not on that obvious injustice. So take what you will there. Go ahead, Tim.
Wow. If it was a trans person, they'd be allowed to do whatever they wanted. You're right about the unsportsmanlike conduct. Like that doesn't hurt anyone. It's kind of fun. Why not have a parent who supports you and does a little fun thing when you win? Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think parents being positively involved instead of being the drunk dad at a baseball game yelling at kids is fantastic when you can be supportive of that. But let's be real. If this was a trans person and they did anything whatsoever, and I mean anything, they could have pulled their pants down at the end of the race and been like, "See, I'm a woman," or whatever. They would not have been hit with anything. It would have been applauded. And I'm kind of glad. And I know that it may not be racially motivated, the punishment, but I'm kind of glad that they're calling it out and just saying, yeah, let's throw it at this board. You know, these athletic commissions are super liberal most of the time. Let them deal with their own liberal rules that they've set up for themselves. And if the dad wants to claim that it's racist, you get what you get. But, you know, like I would say, and unsportsmanlike conduct started coming up more and more in sports because of the reactions of black athletes. When you had like Terrell Owens and you had football players, I don't remember a white athlete, wide receiver, doing like cool Super Bowl end zone dances and spiking the football or doing cool, like entertaining things. And then when college football players started doing the same thing, they started getting penalized. That's definitely something that black players did. It's definitely something that I thought made the sport more fun. And then it was punished. So there, like you said, there's many, many levels to unravel here. But I think the one that I cheer for and why I have no problems with him saying that it's racially motivated is, again, that these commissions are super liberal. They're allowing men to compete in women's sports. So you know what? They should get the claim that it's racist. And they should have to handle this with their own liberal ideals and ideologies. Let's see how they have to dance now.
Yeah, the unsportsmanlike thing is tough. It really honestly is. I mean, I think there are culturally different approaches to celebration. I think that is true.
Yeah.
I think that we all agree that probably taunting is over the line. That's clear. She didn't taunt anybody in this, by the way. She didn't do anything to anybody else.
No swearing.
But, you know, there's also, but you can be unsportsmanlike without taunting too. You can. You can go over the top. You can be a distraction. You can delay the game. I saw some people argue, well, this could have caused confusion in the crowd. All of a sudden, a fire extinguisher is going off or something like that. Okay, I could hear some of that, you know. But even if you thought it was unsportsmanlike, you don't go this far in the punishment. You don't take away medals. You don't disqualify. You don't cancel her from the meet, especially when you're treating trans athletes this other way. As to the race thing, I just think that's so deep. I'll stand by my position. Unless you show me the exact same situation handled differently with a different race, I'm not going in the race place. But at the same time, I can acknowledge that people and cultures celebrate and react to celebrations differently. And I get your point. Hoist them on their own petard. That's what you're saying. I don't even know what that means, but I think it applies.
Let them sleep in the bed they made.
Yeah. What does that mean? Hoist them on their own petard. Can you look that up 2 days? I think I used it correctly, but I literally don't know what the words mean. Hoist them on their own petard. We'll look that up. We'll get back to you. All right, it's good. It's fun as always, Tim. We'll get you to drive down into Dallas one day, all the way from Grapevine.
We're gonna go somewhere deep in South Dallas. Let's go explore Jasmine Crockett's district together.
Oh, that could be a fun segment. That could be a fun package.
Let's go, man. Let's do it.
In Jasmine Crockett's district. I like it. All right. Check Tim out. We know where not to check him out, but check him out at Heritage Foundation, comedian, and on X at Tim Runs His Mouth. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks.
All right. When we come back, we're going to blow my mind, your mind, with award-winning mentalist Christoph Fox on The Will Cain Show. Can a mentalist do it over the Zoom, over video, over the phone, on radio, on YouTube and Facebook? It is The Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. We hope you will subscribe at Spotify or Apple. We love you. We want you to be here. We appreciate you renaming the show with us here today. I actually like some of the names you guys are forwarding in the comments section. I like Raising Cain. I like Willish. I like Canaanites. Good stuff. Speaking of that, 2 days, really quickly, I just used it. I think I used it correctly, but I don't know the definition. Did you chat GPT it yet? What does it mean? Hoist them on their own petard.
Well, the phrase is hoist with his own petard, right?
With his own. What is a petard?
A petard is an old-fashioned bomb used in the 16th, 17th centuries to blow up open gates or walls during sieges.
Well, but hoist makes me feel like I'm being raised up the mast of a ship. You know, I did not think that's what a petard would be. Hoist with his own petard.
So it means someone is hurt, ruined, or caught by their own plan or device intended to harm others. So you hurt yourself with something, yeah.
That one goes back to the 1600s, you're telling me? That's when we called a bomb a petard?
That's right. Let's call up Cody Tucker. Get that one on.
Yeah. I mean, hey, slow hand clap. High five to hoist on their own petard. That thing has survived 400-something years. Like, I don't think sus is sticking around for 400 years. Don't think they're going to be going, that's sus.
Actually, at the end of this item, read, the phrase comes from Shakespeare's Hamlet, essentially.
That's how you achieve eternity.
That's how you achieve it.
You need a world-class writer to
That's
get you into the history books. Thank you, Shakespeare. All right, Christoph Fox is an award-winning mentalist. He joined us a few weeks ago on the Will Cain Show on the Fox News Channel, and he joins us now. What's up, Christoph?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me here. You asked a really good question as I was coming on. You said, can a mentalist do this over a video call? And
right.
My answer to that is, I sure hope so. We're about to find out.
About to find out, Christoph. Before we have you perform some, what are we going to call it? Here's a good place to start our conversation.
Yeah.
Are you going to perform tricks? Are you going to perform illusion? Are you going to perform magic? Are you going to perform mind reading? What does a mentalist do when you would describe what you do in a verb?
It's a never-ending question. I've been called a million things: a magician, a mentalist, an illusionist, a fraud. You can call me a liar. You can call me almost anything you want. I think of myself as a mentalist. And in a real nutshell, a mentalism is a type of magic. Some of the same techniques, a lot of overlap. But whereas a magician will deal with maybe with like coins and cards or illusions, think about a big stage magician who's sawing someone in half. Mentalism's a lot more about how people think, hopefully connecting with people in a good, fun, positive way, and showing them just a really fun, amazing experience that sort of creates the illusion of mind reading.
Okay, and you did that on the Will Cain Show, and you did a great job. You did several,
Thanks,
including handing me a magazine, having me pick out a random word on a random page in the magazine, a big word, and then you somehow came up with the word, unless you memorize every word in that magazine, because you did provide me the magazine, but you gave me two options, I believe.
Right.
You would have had to memorize every single word in the magazine, and I don't know how you would have narrowed down even the one that I'm picking. Hey, I'm sure you've seen this. There's a mentalist going viral right now. Have you seen this? Because he was just on the Joe Rogan Experience. And he guessed Joe Rogan's ATM PIN code.
Sure.
And
sure.
Here's how it went down. I don't have the clip to play, but this is how it went down. He asked Joe to come up with a random 4-digit number. He said, not your ATM code. Just give me off the top of your head. Boom, go. And Joe goes, 2020. Okay. And from that, he said, he was capable of guessing Joe's PIN code, based on a series of assumptions he said about the way people randomly choose thoughts and numbers and answers. What do you think? How did he do that to Joe Rogan?
Perlman is incredible. He's a dear friend of mine. There's a lot of sort of insider secrets and techniques that get traded among us. No different than magic, by the way. You probably wouldn't teach a magic trick to somebody who just, isn't really on the inside. As far as how he may have done that very, very specifically, I don't know. I'm just as mind blown as you. Here's a question I have for you. If I were to ask you to think of something random, like a word or a name, what would be more interesting to you? Something like not personal, like a random word, or something very personal, like a PIN code? Because sometimes that just comes with like a question of like security. Does Joe Rogan want his PIN code being broadcast to millions of people? And just as a personal preference, like I tend to not go that way as much, just for privacy and security concerns. How do you feel about that? Like, do you care if you just tell your PIN code to millions of people?
Well, I don't want to tell my PIN code to millions of people. But to answer your question, I've done both sides of this. I've done the random word. I've done the thing that's close. I've done both, to be honest. Increasingly, with the number of times you're asked to change your passwords in various situations, it's harder to constantly go random, unless it's a completely computer-generated random. But there's a separate question back to you, though. I don't know the answer for myself when you, and you did with me, or anyone else, makes me come up with something on the spot. Like, I don't know why my brain does something. You know, you say, if you said to me right now, pick a number between 1 and 100, I don't know why I will spit out the number that I spit out.
Can I tell you what the most common number is from 1 to 100?
Yes.
It's 27. And that may or may not have been an experience right now for everyone listening. Like, somebody out there was probably thinking of 27 and is like freaking out. But I'll tell you, like, there's just kind of little patterns and like that you just find that people and humans just sort of naturally gravitate towards. You've heard of the rule of 3, right? In comedy, in a lot of places, things like to come in pairs of 3. If you ask someone to just think of a number from 1 to 10, go ahead and do it. Just think of a number from 1 to 10. I'm not promising it'll hit for you right now, but for most people, 7 tends to be the number that pops into their mind.
I did 7. I switched it to 8 real quickly in my head because I knew where you were going. I know 7 is a real popular number.
And if you can kind of predict that somebody's going to be like, try and be unpredictable, in funny ways, doesn't that make them more predictable? Because I could tell you 8, 9, and 2 are like the numbers that someone will go to if they're trying to be unpredictable. It's very hard to try and be random. It's like a backwards thing to kind of do, because at the end of the day, it's all psychology, right? It's just the way people think.
All right, let's bring in two-a-days Dan. He's going to join us here while you show us, not just tell us about some of the things that you do in mentalism.
Let's do it.
So two-a-days is going to join us, Christoph, and you've got a couple different things you want to show us here today. So I'll let you take it away on the first you'd like to do.
Well, this is actually perfect because I got to work with you, Will, but now that I'm getting to meet some of your team, I don't know if you believe in luck or fate or chance. I believe every decision we've ever made led to the 3 of us being here right now. Dan, Will, and Christoph right now. And that's totally random. Look, I brought a Rubik's Cube just to make the point about chance and luck and fate and whatever you might want to call that thing. If I mix this up, chances are whatever combination it lands on has never existed before. Believe it or not, a 3x3 Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion different possible combinations. Now, if you were here in the room, Will, I would just have you mix it up. But why don't we do this? From here, go ahead and tell me exactly how you want me to twist it. 1, 2, 3, 4 times, whatever you want. Try and be as specific as possible. Make sure I'm really doing what you want.
You want me to do it or Dan?
Let's start with you, Will.
All right. Take your right hand, and I want you to select the closest column row to you, the whole thing. Twist it 4 times. Forward.
1,
away from you.
2, 3, 4. That might have just brought us back to the starting point. You want to give us another number on that?
Really? By the way, you twisted it towards yourself, so I want you to twist it away from yourself. So now I want you to go away from yourself 1 time.
Boom. Just like that.
Okay, now I want you to take it. Now I want you to take the front row facing the camera that everyone can see. I want you to twist that 2 times to your left.
Is my left like this?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
2 times.
1, 2. Boom. Totally new combination.
All right.
Now we can stop here. We can do another one. But the point is, this is 1 in 43 quintillion.
Dang.
But if you think about the odds of all of us being here, I would say it's just as rare. What are the odds that you, Dan, and Christoph would be in this room right now together? Are you happy to stop here?
Right.
No, here's the thing.
Keep going.
Oh, okay, cool. How?
I'm good with the amount of we twisted it up. Yeah,
cool,
I'm good with that.
Cool, perfect. We are here, Will. Call it fate, chance, luck, whatever you want. This is your cube. This is mine. I want to see how close we can get just by sort of tempting, like, again, fate, chance, luck, whatever you might call that thing. Do you see how those 2 sides right there kind of match?
Dang.
Yeah, I do.
Kind of, right?
I do. Yeah.
Or is it a perfect
So
match?
for those listening on radio, Spotify, or Apple, Christoph held up one Rubik's Cube, seemingly allowed me to mix it up. Not seemingly, I did mix it up however I wanted with a couple of different twists and turns. Then he picked up a secondary Rubik's Cube, and all he did is look at all the sides and found there are 2 sides exactly the same on these 2 Rubik's
But that's one. That's just one side right there. I say, why stop? Let's keep going. Can we get 2 sides? That's the question. 2 sides right there. Okay. How about 3?
Come on.
4? Look,
What's
there's
going on
6
the
sides
backside
on a
of your
cube, just for
hands?
anybody who's really following along. That would be 5, and that would be 6.
How many
all
stickers you
6
got there?
sides. A perfect match. You're
So,
making a great point, Dan. The first time I ever solved a cube, I did it by peeling off all the stickers
Yeah,
and
exactly.
sticking them back together. So there you go.
Wow.
Now, all right. How'd you do it?
pretty
How'd
dang
you do
good.
it?
Well, that's the part, you were asking me how O's Perlman does pin codes. That's kind of where the conversation stops.
He'd have to kill you if he told you. I think it's that kind of thing.
Dan, I'd love to try something with you. Would you be up for this real quick?
I think so.
Okay. Let's call that a warm-up. Let's get into something a little bit more interesting to me anyway. I think that to do your job and to do it well, you have to have a range of interests. When you're reporting entertainment, news, politics, culture, and I know that you're well versed in all the different topics I just named. But Dan, if you can just
when I think of Dan, I think yes on all those things.
Hey.
perfect. I've got the right guy for this job. So Dan, imagine right now you're on Wikipedia. Millions of articles on Wikipedia on all the different categories and more that I just named. But imagine right now, you're not really on Wikipedia. I know you have a screen in front of you. You're not. It's just in your mind. Imagine you're on Wikipedia, you hit search, and you just type in something that you're interested in. And ideally, this is something that people wouldn't obviously know about you. It's just one of your many interests. And once you have it clear in your mind, just say, got it.
Got it.
For everyone at home, just to be very clear, I never had you write this down on a piece of paper. You didn't text it to me. You haven't told anybody. It's just in your mind,
This
right?
would be bizarre if you got it.
Okay.
I'm an eclectic person.
Focus on the first letter of this topic, this Wikipedia article you're just imagining right now.
Focusing.
First letter. Imagine saying that letter in your mind over and over.
Doing it.
This is weird. I'm split between 2 letters. So was that an F? Or does that come later?
It was an F.
It was an F.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be blown if you
I'm
get
already
this.
nervous for you, Dan.
So
what were
I-
you Googling, Dan? It starts with an F? Oh, no. This could go poorly.
We have to end the show right now.
Look, when people think of something at random, it's usually a person, place, or thing. Those are the easy topics categories
Okay.
to go to. So I'm going to make that assumption that you're in one of those buckets. Just focus on the category you're in. Person, place, or thing. Don't tell me, just focus on it. Person, place, or thing. Just focus on that category. It's either a person, a place. It's a person. I'm going with person.
Dang. Yes.
Yes? Okay.
His eyes darted up. Dan's eyes did dart up just now. Okay, so we got a person that starts with F.
I'm trying to be not show anything either. I noticed
Yeah.
I was shaking my head. Yes, I'll stop.
Yeah. Person starts with F. I'm going to write something down here.
Don't even.
You feel like he's going to get it yet, Dan?
Yeah.
You think he's going to get it?
I don't know
You
why,
think he's
but I have
already
this
down?
feeling.
You feel like a raccoon that's been treed?
Yes.
You feel the dog coming?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm thinking right now. If I'm right, this is a very random person. If I'm right, this is a tough guess for me to go for. Because if you had thought of Taylor Swift, I'd feel really confident. Okay,
But
Taylor
a
Swift,
person I'm
perfect.
very interested in.
Yes,
But that no one would
yes.
know. I've never said anything about it.
Before I sort of show what I wrote down here, Will, do you want to give us your guess based on everything we know so far? Does anything come to mind?
Okay. Well, a person starts with
Yes.
F that Dan's into.
Yes.
What kind of girls is he into?
Or guys. Hey, or guys.
Yeah, hey.
Femke Jansen, isn't that her name? No, that's not where I'm going.
But yes.
Dan's into music. But yes, Dan's into music. I'm going to
Yeah.
give you my guess, okay? And I'm
Can
not
I
going
help
top
you
of
out?
my.
Can I help you out?
Sure.
I don't believe it's Freddie Mercury, just in case that's where you were going.
That's where I was going.
Wow.
Okay, all right.
No, you
I'm trying
were
to get
not.
ahead.
No, you were
Trying to
not.
help you out here.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was about to say Freddie Mercury. 100%. I was about to say
Holy
Freddie
man.
Mercury.
That's
Can we
He's
try
in
wild.
both our heads at the same time.
I,
Oh my God.
I'm ready to try it. I think.
if he gets this, I'm ending the show. This is too
Okay.
scary.
Okay. For the first time, I've just written it here. I'm about to turn it over. don't lie just to make me look good.
Nope,
Please, Dan,
I
tell
wouldn't.
us, what is the name that you just thought of?
You want me to say it out?
I'm just going to turn this around right as you say it. Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Franz Ferdinand. Get out of here.
Get out of here!
I think we're slowly but surely answering that question. Does
What is
mentalism
happening?
work over a video call?
Come
That was
on,
the most
Christoph.
random thing.
Come
Thank you.
on.
I love World War I history, and I've never
Yeah.
told anyone that besides my wife, I think.
Well, how do you think I learned?
Come
what you were gonna
on.
think of?
What happened here? How'd you do
did
that?
you talk to my wife? That's crazy. That is the random,
Thank you, sir.
most random person I could think of. And the most random
Stop
thing.
here? Do we look? I don't know if I'm pushing it too far. Like, there's a point at where it's like I'm setting myself up for failure, but I can't help myself. I think it'd be more fun if we just pushed and continued and try one more thing here. Dan,
Sure.
Yeah.
you just saw this Wikipedia article in your mind.
Yes.
If I ask you right now to pull up that imagination again, and just imagine scrolling down towards the article, all those words, all that text, and just thinking of a word, focusing on one word from this article, a word that you could just see in your mind right now clearly. Do you have a word
One
in
word?
mind? Just one word.
From the article.
Don't, yeah, and don't tell us what it is, but the point is just to think to the article, focus on one word.
I got it in my head.
There's a couple of thoughts sort of bouncing around. And I don't know if this will make any sense for you. I'm not going to do the big dramatic thing of write it down and see if I was right. But just so the audience at home knows, this word starts with an A. Yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Come on.
Eh,
Well, I've got two
and
of
if
them.
I'm right, this feels like a longer word. I think you would have tried to make this interesting for us.
Well,
So
now
far,
that
so good?
yeah, well, I'm thinking about the topic too. So
Okay. Look, I'm either right or wrong. Either way, don't hold it against me. I might be setting myself up for failure, but this will be fun if we're close. Was the word something like advantages?
yeah, that was
Come on,
absolutely
Dan.
it. It was
Come-
advantages.
Hold on. And you're not lying to make me
I'm
look
not
good. Please
lying.
don't do that.
I'm not lying at all. That was absolutely the word I was thinking of.
Why did you think of advantages? Austria, assassination. These are words that you would see and they're obvious. But where in the world would you read? By the way, my word, if he had done it, and I was going to see if he got both of us, was black. I was going to, my word was black in the article of Franz Ferdinand.
I
because,
think
you know,
it was
the assassin was a member of the Black Hand.
True.
That was their group. But advantages? Where did you come up with advantages?
I think it's probably because it was like it was said a lot of times. I'm assuming, but that's probably what stuck out in my head. But yeah, Austria should have been one.
Interesting.
But yeah,
That
was the
question,
word.
right?
That's
How do
crazy.
people think? How do people think? Maybe we'll try one more like experiment. Will, I sent you something, and we don't have to grab for it right now, but I just want to check in with you. You have something that I sent you well in advance of this program, right?
I have it right here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
If I ask most people, and we'll do this for both of you and the audience listening at home, to just imagine a blank kind of canvas in your minds. The audience can do this in your mind. And I'm sending you a thought. Everyone's going to become a mind reader right now. I'm sending you all a thought. And just so you don't get distracted by whatever you might be looking around at, this is something that you would find outside, okay? If you just imagine blank canvas, imagine seeing something that you would find outside right now. Just get that thought in mind, and we'll do it one more time. Clear your mind, do it again, something you'd find outside, boom. The two thoughts I was putting out that often, for whatever reason, people tend to be able to see and pick up on were a tree and a car. Now, those are like the two most common things I found people can sort of pick up on. Hopefully that was a bit of an experience for everyone at home. But for you right now, Will, if you imagine a blank canvas in your mind, and we could fill this with any kind of random art. Imagine you've got like a list of prompts in front of you, like AI just gives us a million ideas, and you just choose one of those ideas to fill out this canvas in your mind right now. What kind of details are you creating? What kind of picture are you creating in your mind for us? You can tell us a little bit about what you're putting together here.
Like I probably went to something familiar, my backyard, like a overcast gray day and two dogs.
Gray. Okay. Was it like a dark gray or like a light gray?
I'd say light.
Light. And two dogs? Not one, not three. Oh, I didn't even know I could do that. Oh, not one,
Oh,
not
balloons.
three.
Hey.
And the background,
good trick.
it's light gray. It's not pink or purple or white or black or blue or yellow. It's light gray.
No.
Two dogs,
Yeah.
light gray. Okay, cool. And this could
But
have
you knew I had
really,
two
like,
dogs. You
been-
guessed one of their names before.
That's true. So, okay, even more specific, these are now your dogs. Fair enough.
Sure.
Can you go ahead and open up that box I sent you, Will? That I sent you well before we started, well before this program.
Yeah, I'm opening the box.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a letter from you.
Yeah, it's just a personal note.
open
You can
that
check
letter?
that out later. Yeah,
Okay,
it's not
I've
about
got-
the letter. That's a personal note. But you've got in your hands a canvas. It's wrapped up.
Yeah, it's in a red sleeve here. I haven't pulled it out. You want me to pull it out?
Yeah, whenever you're ready. Go ahead, Will.
Okay. Oh my! It's a painting of my two dogs
That's
on a light
amazing.
gray background.
From me to you.
It's an
I didn't know if you were
awesome
gonna
painting.
think
I
of-
don't.
That's amazing. I love
didn't know
that.
if you were
That's
going to
amazing on
think of-
several levels. That's
Yeah,
amazing
well,
on
thank you.
several levels.
It might have been two random dogs, but I wanted to put my own artistic touch and let this be a little gift. So I chose.
Did
to
you
make
do
it
this? Did you
your
paint
dogs.
this? Is this
I did not.
AI? What is
No,
this?
I'm not that good. That is a friend of mine who put that together for you.
That's amazing.
That is awesome. It's an awesome painting of my two dogs. And I'm telling you, like, this, for lack of a better word, trick that he just pulled off is amazing on several levels, including I got this package a few days ago, and I was instructed not to open it no matter what. And I did not open it. I only cut the seal with this knife right before the show so I wouldn't be fumbling with it during the show. That is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Bravo.
Incredible.
Bravo.
When you become a mentalist, do you drop the R in Christopher, or were you born Christoph?
I was born Christophe. It's actually a French name. And you wouldn't know this if you're just listening in, but when I'm on stage, I perform at a lot of conferences and corporate events. I'm kind of a tall, kind of skinny guy, a white guy. And I like to joke with my audiences that Christophe is an old French name that in French
Yeah.
means tall, skinny, white guy. That's not true, but that's just the joke about myself I like to make. It is a real name. It's a French name given to me at birth by my mom.
Well, you've done an awesome job twice with us now here on the Will Cain Show. It really is incredible. It's
Thank
like
you, sir.
anytime you go to a magic show or anything else, I deeply want to know how you pulled off all of these different scenarios. But I would encourage anyone, if they want to hire a guy to come do this at their company or their rich person's birthday party, I'm sure it's not cheap. But how do they find you, Christoph?
ChristopheFox.com is the best place to go. I work all kinds of fun events. It tends to be corporate events and conferences. Think of me like a keynote speaker, but a little bit different, a little bit more fun. And at the end of the day, what I found is people are so desperately in need of a little escapism, a little bit of fun, a way to connect with each other, to laugh and smile. And through the program, frankly, just a little encouragement. That's what I try and build into this whole, experience, is not only a sense of wonder, but hopefully encouragement for the audiences that I'm fortunate and lucky enough to present for.
It's really fun, and you've done a great job.
man.
I appreciate you doing it again
appreciate
with us here today, Christoph. Thank you so much, man.
Maybe if we do it one more time in the future, I'll guess your PIN code. We'll go for it.
Okay, all right, there we go. I don't want to do that on air. But Christoph
Yeah, that's what I
Fox
thought.
here, check him out. Award-winning mentalist. I think it really is. That last one with the painting, I don't think you even know how wild that is that he did that. Anyway, every one of those. How did he guess Franz Ferdinand and advantages? Those are the mysteries that you have to answer when listening to the Will Cain Show. We appreciate you doing so. Hey, head over to Spotify or Apple, hit subscribe, because tomorrow is a Cain on Sports edition that you only get by subscribing at Spotify or Apple. I will see you again next time.